Let's speak with Sandra Miller, the daughter of Holocaust survivor Sabina Miller. Sandra, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Ian. Thank you for inviting me.
It's a pleasure. It feels like this is like the next chapter of each week, almost each day perhaps, and I'm sure this is very poignant to you more so than me, but it disturbs me every time I see it, that we seem to be building up this almost a body of evidence as to why there is something rather disturbing going on in this country. If you have to put tarpaulin over a Holocaust memorial, then something's gone dreadfully wrong.
I'd absolutely agree. I think it's a tragedy that we've got to this stage where I believe in democracy. I absolutely believe in people's right to protest. But if we're so frightened that people on a march are likely to deface a memorial to 6 million innocent people who died for no other reason than the fact that they were Jewish, then I think we do have a problem in this country. And it's tragic. I grew up in Britain. I'm very liberal. I just believe everyone has the right to say and do what they like, providing they don't harm anybody else. And I've learnt all I've learnt from my mother, who was a Holocaust survivor, who was very, very keen on people being tolerant and understanding and respecting people's differences. Sure. So I know that if she were alive today, and I have to say I'm quite relieved that sadly she's not, she would have found the covering up of this memorial truly tragic. The fact that it had to be covered up, not the fact of the covering itself, but the fact that we're so nervous that people are likely to deface the monument, it is a tragedy. And I don't know, it doesn't feel like, I don't know, this sounds ridiculous, but it doesn't feel like my Britain anymore. And that's sad.
I keep hearing this, not just from Jews, but from non-Jews as well. It's something I certainly sense. We've seen altercations with the police that I think, you know, at best have been a little bit fishy or unfathomable. We've seen other examples that have been beyond disturbing. We have seen a comedian almost jeer a Jewish group out of a theatre. We have seen a man being told he can't cross the road because the mere presence of him might be alarming or incite something. I mean, how much more evidence do we need? And now we have a memorial covered up. And I always remind listeners and viewers of this point that this is so recent in our history. It's so recent that I have numbers in my phone. You have this in your own family. Numbers in my phone of people who were actually there. I mean, that's how recent this is. And yet here we are, what feels like half an hour later, almost covering this up.
And I think it's because people don't get the education, don't know enough. So I want to put a plug in, if I may. I work with an organisation called Generation to Generation. And what they do is they help the children and grandchildren of Holocaust survivors tell their story. So we have at least 30 different speakers, and we go into schools and universities and organisations, anyone who will have us, and we deliver a talk, and it's all totally free. And the purpose is to educate people about what the Holocaust was about and why it happened, and to tell our very personal family stories. And I think it's by hearing an individual's story, by knowing what happened to our families simply because they were Jewish, we hope that people will become more tolerant, more understanding, and that there'll be less anti-Semitism, less Islamophobia, and less hatred of anybody who is different from you. Yeah. Because that's all this is. It's about fear. It's about fear of someone who's different from you. And that seems to me to be utterly ridiculous.
What is, just to add to the mystery of the Holocaust Memorial Garden stone being covered up, the police have denied any involvement in this, which sort of just suggests somebody else would have done this. I mean, there is say again, sorry to interject, Sandra.
No, I think it was the park, the park organisers, whoever they are, decided that it was a safe thing to do, and they say that they've covered it up for other demonstrations too. I have to say I've never been a witness to that. But it is particularly, I don't know, I mean, there have now been, 14 of these pro-Palestinian demonstrations. And of course, people have the right to their opinions and the right to their views. But if it starts treading on the views of other people and the easy access to places for other people, then maybe we should question whether that's right to happen in a democratic society.
Spot on. Sandra, thank you. And I hope we don't have to speak again on this, but my fear is that perhaps in the near future we will. Sandra Miller, who's the daughter of Holocaust survivor Sabina Miller. Sadly, Sabina is no longer with us, as Sandra was saying, but she has clearly a very emotional and tangible story of her own, Sandra.